What would you do for $100? I'm Zachary Oren-Smith. I cover Iowa politics for Iowa Starting Line. I'm down in Mississippi. I'm supposed to be getting some R&R, a little bit of vacation before the midterms really kick up. But a source sent me this text message, and I think we need to talk about it. Gentleman Jake Swanson here. I wanted to invite you to join me in seeing Vice President JD Vance this afternoon in Des Moines. I do some work for an ethanol company, and so if you're able to join me, I will give you $100, and for anyone that you recruit, an additional $25, no limit on referrals. So if someone recruits a group of 20 to show up, that's $500. The lobbyist in question is a guy named Jake Swanson. He worked in the Reynolds administration on ag policy, and particularly on ethanol. And these days, he's one of the lobbyists that works on these issues. Now, if you don't know what a lobbyist is, all that is someone who's registers with the state and is paid to push on behalf of their client list for certain legislation or on behalf of certain points of view, certain stakeholders that they represent. Ethanol is a tremendous special interest in the state of Iowa. You see them in these big fights over carbon capture pipelines. You see them in hoping to create just a friendlier environment to the industry. And as you can imagine, there's lots of money floating around for a lobbyist who specializes in ethanol policy. I think it's more than a little interesting that a cheerleader for this big industry is spending what he calls his personal time trying to make sure the Vice President JD Vance and U.S. Representative Zach Nunn didn't have a poor attendance at their rally Tuesday in Des Moines. You, of course, have heard about all the paid protesters showing up in Des Moines, the streets of Iowa City. Kind of interesting to see that the call was maybe coming from the inside. $100. Hell of a ticket. At this point, I've written quite a bit about how competitive Iowa's 3rd congressional district is, and so it's unsurprising that JD Vance would show up in this way. Zach Nunn is an embattled incumbent. JD Vance has presidential aspirations in 2028. Kind of a meeting made in heaven, right? I don't think that one guy slipping $100 bills to try to get some folks to show up to see the Vice President of the United States speak, I don't think that that is testament of an enthusiasm gap, but it certainly doesn't look good. I did a little bit of calling around just to try to get a sense of whether or not any of this was illegal. And what most folks said was it kind of depends on how the money flowed, and, certainly raises questions about how it was dispensed to folks. While there are limitations of what a corporation can give to an individual campaign during an election, you can just kind of pay attendees to show up to your events. Doesn't look good, but it is probably legal. That said, next time you hear someone talking about paid protesters, you might want to ask them about this story. We are always team get your bag, so if you got one of these $100 bills, kudos. The thing about greenback bills is they spend all the same. If I had $100, I'd be spending it on a nice dinner tonight, maybe some deluxe formula for the baby. You can find the full story over at iowastartingline.com. Do me a favor, go check it out, and we'll see you next time.